and science are thought of as fields where there can only be one correct answer to a question. That question can be really complicated or hard to solve, or maybe we haven't even solved it yet, but still, everything is quantifiable, stratified, black and white, right or wrong. But that's not always the case. In mathematics, we can't even always distinguish between numbers. For example, 0.9999 repeating is exactly the same as 1. Not just estimated, not just rounded up, exactly equal to. And I can prove this. For example, repeating decimals can be written as fractions. So 0.11111 repeating would be written as 1 over 9. 0.33333 repeating can be written as 3 over 9 or 1 over 3, and so on. If you have more than one digit repeating, then you just add another 9. I'm a child. But this means that 0.99999 repeating can be written as 9 over 9, which is exactly 1. Also, between any two distinct real numbers, there is a rational number, meaning any terminating decimal or repeating decimal that isn't equal to either number. But between 0.99999 repeating and 1, there is no such number. That means that 0.99999 repeating and 1 aren't actually mathematically distinct. And I have to stop and take a break now before I completely forget what number means. And also because I'm in a fair amount of menstrual pain, but yeah. Okay, so we've established that even the hard sciences don't always result in hard and fast answers, and it can be really scary and unsatisfying to get the answer "it depends" when you ask a really personally important question, like, is this chemical going to harm my child? Hi, future... Oh, have I ever said my name on here? Well, my icon's a rose. I guess. Future Rose here, just to be clear. Harm in this instance has nothing to do with autism. Like, I am referring to illnesses and their effects up to and including death. And if you'd rather have a dead child than an autistic child, you are a shitty parent. There's just no other way to say it, and I do not care if you feel insulted. The answers that come from the scientific community can be really frustrating for the layperson, and I'm including myself in this. Our brains like quantifiable and understandable answers, and even from the hard sciences, the answers are going to be complicated with things like confidence intervals, error types, publishing biases, sampling sizes, etc. So many other things. For example, whether a chemical is or isn't bad for your kid can give you a complicated and uncertain answer that will change as your child grows up. When I was born, I could drink a specific kind of milk, no problem. But as I grew up, my family and I discovered that I was violently lactose intolerant. Just a drop of cow's milk in something and I would make a mess all over the floor. And then puberty happened, and while too much lactose still gives me digestive problems, I can have milk products so long as I don't smell the milk. And this is entirely psychosomatic because it'll happen with lactose-free milk as well. But years of associating the smell of milk with having to purge so violently that sometimes it came out of my nostrils is not something you forget easily. This doesn't mean that milk and lactose are bad for all children. It doesn't even mean that milk and lactose are always bad for me. It really does just depend on how much there is and whether or not I can smell it. And for you, it could be something else entirely. Maybe like the texture or something, I don't know. Either way, seeing your child throw up so hard it starts coming out of her nose is probably terrifying. And when the reason for that is complicated and uncertain, it can make it hard to trust doctors to give you the right information. And when you don't trust the information you're given, it can make it hard to trust that you're making the right choices. And this lack of trust, this fear that you could be inadvertently harming your child, is both very natural and understandable and very ripe for manipulation from people who are anti-vaxxers or run MLMs. And I'm not saying that conspiracy theories and the misinformation surrounding them aren't necessarily strategically aimed at people. I'm saying that the people most likely to take them to heart are the ones who already have the anxieties and fears that conspiracy theories are built around. And that's why conspiracy theories involve this level of community. Nobody likes being told that our anxieties are irrational or mocked for our fears. So when there's one group of people calling us insane and another group of people saying that we're right and it's everyone else who told us we're wrong who are actually nuts, and they have the evidence to prove it if you just go on VAERS or other areas of YouTube, we're naturally going to be attracted towards the latter. We'll be more motivated to maintain those relationships in order to keep that positive feedback loop going. This ends up being this Ouroborosian cycle where believers further entrench themselves into their theories by seeking out new evidence or coming up with new elaborations on the conspiracy theory to make it even more dramatic and exciting, and so that they can be praised and valued by other members of the group. With every new piece of supposed evidence or a new way this conspiracy could go deeper and further than previously thought, there's a new reason to discuss that conspiracy with like-minded people. Not to mention that the flip side of this is anyone who starts to doubt the conspiracy will lose that social support, with most conspiracy theorists rejected by real-life friends and family due to falling for the conspiracy in the first place. This leaves only other conspiracy theorists as the believer social network. To move away from the conspiracy is to remove the only social support that these people have left. If this is starting to sound like a cult or an abusive relationship, by the way, you're right. It's the same pattern of behavior. Who will love you if these people don't? Not to end on another personal anecdote, but the reason it was so difficult to walk out of the radio show that I used to do wasn't because I believed in radical feminism so much. It was because I didn't have any friends who weren't rad femmes at the time. So walking away from a toxic ideology meant also walking away from the only people who loved the socially awkward and extremely traumatized person that I used to be, and still kind of am, but that's for me to fix in myself. It's not to seek other people's love to fix. I don't need toxic people to love me. I can love myself non-toxically just fine. And I hope you can too. I think everyone can. So, what did Vancouver say to Victoria? I'll be seeing you soon. Bye-bye.